right, so this is going to be my second long form interview. I had a really good time doing the one with Net, and one of the players in Valorant that I have had written down as a preference for me to interview ever since I first considered doing this was Mimi from G2 Gozen. Anyone who watches my stream will know that I'm such a big fan, and then we became friends on Instagram, and I was so happy. I was so excited, and you always like my Instagram photos, and I'm like, hell yeah, we're best friends now. But I was like really taken by you as a player, like ever since I first saw the team play. But you've actually been in like just gaming for a really long time, long before Valorant was ever like even a thought in the head of someone at Riot, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. It's been some years now.
Your first game that you competed in was CS, but I want to like go just before then and say, like, was CS where you started in gaming, or was there like a whole story before that?
So I have a brother, and there's 10 months between us, so we are like a little bit like twins, I would say. So we grew up very close, and I was very much looking up to him, and he loved video games. So naturally, I would love video games too. So when we were like 6, 7, 8 years old, we would always go around on these internet cafes and just play whatever the crew was playing there. But CS really caught my attention when I was around 12 years old, which is now almost 13 years ago. That hurts to say that out loud. But CS was the first competitive game I played, but I did play a lot of like casual play games like Warcraft 3, RuneScape, browser games. I also played like Go Supermodel and all these kind of, I feel like games that everyone has played throughout their childhood. I also played those.
Yeah, I was really similar actually, because my brother and I are 16 months apart and also like twins and also grew up playing video games together. So I get it. But you actually went through like playing PC games. So I was like a PS2 kid. So you actually started like gaining those skills for PC games really early. Were you good at first? How long did it take for you to actually get good at them?
I never actually played to become good. Back when I started CS, I did all the fun modes like bunny jumping and bajale and surfing, and that was the thing that caught my attention because I was just sucked into it for so many hours, and my mom was like, "You have to go to bed now." I'm playing, Mom. He's trying to find me. And hide and seek too. So those were the kind of games or like servers that I was playing on. So it was not until that I figured out that there was a competitive scene like a few years later, like when I was around 14, I think, where I started playing it more competitively.
So your first like competitions that you actually involved in were in 2013, according to your Wikipedia. So as long as that's right, I'm assuming that's the case. What was it that made you like actually go looking to form a team? Like, how did you actually go about that?
So that was actually my first female team. I did go to other events before I knew there was females in gaming. I attended with my what I was not the only one. No, but I actually went to LANs because my brother went to LANs to play, so I went there with him. And actually, in 2012 Copenhagen Games, the year before the first female event at Copenhagen Games, I also played with a mixed team. That was so scuffed. Like I had no mouse pad. I had like a microphone duct taped to the table going up so I could talk, and it was such a scuffed setup. But it was really fun. But I met some girls in CS Source before CS Go came out, and those were the ones that I found and formed a team with back when CS:GO came out, and we started playing that. So we met one that was a girl that was 10 years older than me, so she had been in the 1.6 scene and actually competed in many events, which I had no idea about, that this was a thing. Like, whoa, what, you travel to Paris to play?
Wow.
what the hell? So she kind of took me into the scene and taught me how everything was, and eventually I just get better, and I kind of like went from one team to a better team to a better team to the best team eventually.
So she was like your mentor.
She was for sure my person that I looked up to, and because I knew that she had a lot more experience than me, even though that I was better than her, like individually, a raw
Right.
skill, she had all the experience, and that's like all the I sucked it as much as I could into me, all the knowledge just
So she like
into my
kind of
brain.
helped you sort of like harness the natural skill that you had and like put that into something useful and healthy and
Yes.
like that.
And taught me like how to become like how to be the best teammate, don't grow an ego, and all these kind of skills that many can seem to lack because they have such a good talent, and they're just so good that they just grow a really big ego on the side, and that's not really how you become a good teammate also. So I tried to learn all the humble things on the side too, I
How long were
suppose.
you on a team with her?
How long was that? Yeah, it was yeah, I don't know. It was some years for sure. Like we were also best friends outside of the games. We were actually living together at some point.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it was a bit on and off because I started with her for a few years, like maybe 2 years, and then she was out, and then I was out, but then we found each other again, and
It's like a
yeah,
movie. What the
it's been
hell?
some years with her at least.
So when you eventually stopped being on a team with her, like did that feel like kind of a cliff drop where it's like, oh my god, like my mentor figure isn't on a team with me anymore. Like I have to put all of this into practice and I'm kind of on my own there.
um, I I believed a lot in myself. Like I've always been a hard believer in myself, and I've always been a very independent person. So I knew that because I went to another team, it will be for the better, and there will always be someone else with even more experience because like this team is better. So I would have others to be able to look up to and learn from. So I've never felt like, oh no, like I'm on my own or anything. I always try to bond with my teammates and feel like these are my people. You know?
So I have to ask, so given that like you kind of first stepped into the competitive scene when you were still a teenager, how did you like balance that with, you know, like education and stuff? How did that go?
So actually, the thing is, I'm from Denmark, but I moved to Spain with my mom and my brother when I was 15 years old. And that's still the last year of school in Denmark. So I never actually finished that last year,
Oh.
but I took it like I kind of half did it in Spain because you have to go to school until you're 16 in Spain.
Right.
So I couldn't skip school, which was very annoying. But every time I was done with school, I would always go and play. And so whenever I had anything during the day, I would make sure to spend my whole evening gaming with my team, and I would always prioritize gaming actually more than anything. And I only finished the school that I had to, which meant that like high school, I don't have that.
Right.
I don't have like an education at all. I just wanted to do gaming, but I also didn't drop out of I did do high school for like 2 months or something, but I dropped out as soon as I knew that I was able to live from what I got right now. So that's what I wanted, and I just wanted to build on that. Like even though it was the absolute minimal that I got, like I could barely get by with it. But I was like, I gotta take the chance. Like gaming is what I want. I don't want to wake
Yeah.
up and go to school or wake up and go to a normal work. It's just I'm not that kind of person.
Do you ever find like when people have the conversation, you see a lot of people say online, like, don't quit school, like if you want to go pro, like still get an education. Do you ever look at people saying that and you're like, no, just, don't look at me, don't look at me?
I mean, yeah, it's really hard to say, because I also do believe that it's really important to like, if everything flops, that you have something to be able to fall back on. And in Denmark, we are very lucky that whatever age you have, you will always be able to go back to school for free and get paid for it. So that's like a real like relief in my heart, that if I were to one day like not do gaming anymore and I just can't live from it, I will always have the opportunity to go back to school and take my education and get a normal job without any issues.
So given the fact that like this was something that you kind of grew up doing with your brother, like I assume your parents were already very like well acquainted with kind of what was going on, and did they ever have an issue with the fact that you wanted to like drop out of school?
No, because I dropped out when I was 18, so I was my own person. I decided all by myself what I wanted to do. But my mom has always been supportive of me doing, or my brother doing, whatever we want in life, as long as it works out, right? Like, if you want to do whatever, we can do it. Just has to be possible. So I've always had big support from my whole family. Actually, they have been traveling with me to tournaments. Even my grandparents, they were like on the first row in Paris, like, "Ah!" And my grandma has no idea what's going on, but she just sees that we get one more point, and she's like, "Ah!" Let's go. So there's always been very big understanding, since it's been such a big topic with me and my brother. So yeah, they have been supportive.
That's so wholesome. And basically, since you started doing it, like, from what I can tell, there's never been a period where you've had to like step back and reevaluate, right? Like, it's gone very well for you since the beginning.
Yeah, there was I did, when I was back in Team Secret, when we were the best team, and there was a little, let's say, misunderstanding on the team, and it just didn't really work out back then. And I stopped playing competitively for a year or a year and a half, but I did full-time streaming instead, which actually benefited me more than I thought it would. And I got to work with a lot of very cool sponsors, which I don't think that I would have had the opportunity if I didn't actually put all my time into streaming back then. So even though it was a bittersweet decision to step down from competitive gaming, I still gained a lot of experience in another front that is also quite important in this industry. And that's like working with sponsors and how to interact on social media and all these kind of things. And I didn't really have any experience with that, even though we were on like the best team there was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's good to have. Like, that's, you know, even now, like, you see a ton of conversations be like, you know, if you're a pro player, stream, like, it's going to be huge for you. Like, there's the brand building, learning to work with different things, and it gives you such a different perspective.
Indeed, it does. It can be really hard though to put a lot of hours into streaming when you have spent your whole day also practicing with your team. It's very draining.
Yeah.
At the end of a practice day, even though people are, "Oh, you're just playing a video game," but
no, it's so much. There's so much like energy that goes into it.
There really is, and you have to be 100% focused for all the hours of your practice, and it's really draining on your brain and your focus. So yeah, I wish people understood that a little bit more. Even though we're very blessed to be able to do what we love to do and make a living out of our hobbies, I just wish that sometimes, like, I hope you understand that I'm not streaming today, guys, because we've been practicing for 8 hours and my brain is about to melt.
Well, so you mentioned the Team Secret era. I want to kind of go back one step, but also in that sort of overall era, because a team that you were on previous to that was Games4U, which is where you actually first started playing with Juliano, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then in Team Secret, you were playing with zAAz.
Yeah.
So these are people who are on your team now. Like, what was it like when you first started playing with them?
So it was actually completely random that we started playing together, because back then they were called Bad Monkey Gaming. Funny name. I love that name. And they were only 2 players left on the lineup after an event or something, and we were actually only 3 players left on our lineup after an event. So I think I wrote Juliano what, like, hey, I think it's time that we merge together and create a team. And so we did, and a few months later we won bootcamp. We qualified for ESWC in Canada, which was super cool. Going out of Europe my first time, that was epic. And we got second place. Back then, zAAz had a break from gaming, and she felt ready to come back. And let me just tell you that zAAz is an absolute legend in CS. Like, hands down, probably the best female CS player there's ever been. And that was huge for me to know that, she wanted to come back. And zAAz and Juliano were, of course, close friends. So instantly they got in talk, and we knew that if we were able to get zAAz, like, there's no chance we're gonna say, nah, there's no space for you. So we had to decide to let go of a player, and she came on the team. And after she came on the team, we never lost an event.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy. Because it's like, then you kind of went through this whole period of playing, with these players, and then like the 2020 era comes along, and you start playing with Petra as well, right? Who I always see you guys doing your little TikToks, doing your little things together, and I'm like, I want what they have.
Yeah. Me and Petra, we really go well together. Like, we have a lot of similarities in our personalities, and she's such a goofy person, and I just love that she want to do all the stupid things I want to do. So it just makes sense to do them together, because everyone loves a fun little duo, right?
Yeah, I know. I think it's so cute. But so this was the era when we kind of skipped this 2020 era where that Valorant comes out this year. It's no longer Project A, and also COVID is happening. So talk me through like what it kind of was like for you in that period of still playing CS professionally. You were on XSET, but starting to play Valorant and maybe thinking about switching games.
Yeah, so it was back then. It was really hard for the CS female scene. When COVID happened, we didn't have any like proper tournaments for like well over a year or something. It was a long time, and we kept on seeing all these Valorant tournaments happening with like the Huntress trials and Birds of Prey, and we were just like, that is so annoying because we don't have that, and we didn't play Valorant yet. Like, we were just playing a little bit individually because it was another FPS game.
Yeah.
And then our org Axel back then actually said that, like, maybe we should consider if switching would be a good idea, because in a year's time, Valorant is most likely going to be huge, and the Valorant female scene is most likely also going to be a lot bigger than the CS female scene, which it is now. And there's like 60 teams sign up for VCT Game Changers every time, and there's never been that many female teams in CS. So it was not a hard decision for us to take, because we kind of just followed the competition, and we also, everyone kind of felt like we needed something fresh and new in our lives, and a new game would be the perfect challenge for us to try and see if we can rise to the top there too, because we were so dominant in the female scene in CS.
Yeah. How did you find the transition? Because obviously with like CS to Valorant, you're going from essentially just like straight tech FPS to a hero shooter in a sense, you know, like you've got all these different characters with specific abilities and stuff, which is not quite the same as what you were already used to. Like, how did you go about deciding what roles you were going to play, trying those all out? Like, did you like it at first or did it take some getting used to?
Um, it was actually funny because like half of the players were like, "I love this agent, so I want to play him," and it was just me and zAAz left with like, "Okay, I guess this is what we play." so
Oh, no
so
way.
like back in CS, it was me and zAAz that were actually the entries. So zAAz would always be the person we send out and just clear off everything. And if she somehow decided to die, I would clean up for her. So we would always be the one being sent in first. And now it's completely different because
Yeah.
now we have Juliano on the entry role. We still have her as our IGL, but she was a bit more uh, in the back and took her timings back in CS and played off her like her IQ, her
Like
her
intuition.
knowledge. Yeah, she's a very smart player.
Right.
And now we just send her, go kill. And it was not like that at all in CS. So it was a bit of getting used to, and everyone had to like figure out how to deal with everything after so many years of doing something different. And of course we also have to like remember like who can die, who cannot die, who's more important in the sense of like util, and how can we do this. But eventually like it took us a few turns. We played two of the smaller tournaments, and then we flopped on the first Game Changers. Um, but those tournaments, like we needed those losses for sure to figure out like how to really be the best.
Mm-hmm. What was the biggest learning process for you? Like, especially, you know, you say you were an entry player in CS, you come into Valorant and you've basically got to like pick up the Sentinel role because no one else wanted it on your team. Like, that is arguably like the biggest change because you're kind of the last person to go in. You're doing a lot of lurking. That's something that you as a player especially are very good at doing. You know, what was the biggest thing that you had to learn in making that massive switch?
Um, Personally, I actually love doing that. I also love just shooting.
I can
It's
tell.
yeah, it's fun. Um, but for sure, you have to really think about all the small details with what you hear. Because everything has their own sound when it comes to the agent's util and stuff.
Mhm.
So I feel like as a sentinel, you kind of always have to think about, now I can take the timing, now I can't. Like, how can I put my util to counter their play? Of course, my teammates help me all the time to also do this, so I'm not just
On your own,
taking
yeah.
all the credit myself. But I feel like this is something like you can only learn by playing. Um, and that's just something you have to do, and it's always different also from ranked games to tournaments to practice games. So it's something you just have to keep on thinking about and learn about as you get the experience.
Mhm.
Because I feel like sentinels, and especially sentinels, like it's just an experience role many times, because you really
Right.
have to like take your timings and do it properly, because if you just go out and do it headlessly, there's no point. And you also have to like be very aware of your radar, because with your util, like, are they pushing, where is that, what just went off, where, all these kind of
Yeah.
things all the time. Sometimes I get a little bit confused myself, even though I'm like a year into the game now. Like, whoa,
It's fine.
what just happened?
So you mentioned earlier how like you had some time off around the Team Secret era and you put like a lot into content creation, got really into streaming. How did the audience that you had built in CS and knew you as a CS player, how did they kind of respond to you switching? Was it really sudden, or like, you know, how did that go?
I think it was a bit sudden, but I did also stream a little bit of Valorant, but it was a big viewer difference from when I was playing CS to when I was playing Valorant. So I tend to not stream as much Valorant as I actually played it than CS, because I grew my whole base on CS, and many of the CS players are like, Valorant, it's only for the noobs, it's only for the people that are not good enough in CS, blah, 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 blah. So there will be a lot of like people that would not support it, but I have gained so many more supporters and followers in Valorant from the Valorant scene, and like a lot more than in CS. I even feel like people are so supportive now, rather than before. I feel like the CS scene has a little bit of arrogance to it. They always think they are a little bit better than everyone. It is what it is. So I feel like the Valorant scene has been very healthy for both my stream, but also just for me as a gamer. So it was a bit of some hard months, because you had to get used to the fact that you're not sitting with the same amount of viewers anymore, because you grew that platform in a different game. So it took some months to like get the viewer base to be a little bit higher. So now I just feel happy, and it's so fun when people come in and they're like, "Oh, you Mimi!" Like, hey.
Do you find that the Valorant like audience in general are more receptive to like a female scene?
Sorry, I have no idea what receptive means.
Do you think that do you think that they like are more accepting of it, more interested in it, kind of thing?
It really depends on the lobby. Like, some people are just like anti-female, we don't want you.
Well, I mean more like, you know, like an esports scene. So like they're more interested in like watching a female scene, for example.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if you just like when you just see the viewers when it comes to like the C9 games, for example, like they're well above 10,000 every time, and in CS, it would only be like a few games that would be watched, like maybe a final, and there would be like maybe 6,000 or something. It would really depend on also like which casters and analysts are on the desk to do our games and stuff. But there is for sure a lot more people that love watching the games. But I also feel like people are not thinking the same way, and actually think that because it's so util based heavy game, you have to think about what you do, and it's not only aim like it is many times in CS, that people can watch the games to actually also learn from them.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Because, like, I know obviously it's a very big point of debate for people as to, you know, whether or not a female scene is a good thing, or whether they like the idea or whatever. But do you find that in Valorant, being in like the female scene that Riot have set up, you feel more like legitimized as a player? Like, do you feel like people see you as like a pro, just like they see any of the male pros, rather than just like you know, someone in this other smaller league?
I don't know. I feel like many sees me as a streamer, and just like they know who I am because many maybe watch my stream or something.
Right.
But of course, having the G2 name in front of my name makes a big difference, and people know that when you're on G2, like you are legit, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like for sure maybe having the G2 tag in front makes the legitness a little bit more legit.
I mean, actually, it's a good thing that we can talk about, because you said that you kind of flopped the first Game Changers, and you weren't playing under G2 yet. You were playing under the originals, right? And you had Anya as part of the team. When you went into G2, or when G2 picked you up, the team kind of changed slightly because it's Glance who came in as the last player. Am I right?
She was on the last Game Changers, but we had
Right.
Sila in between the first and the last we just played. So
Right. Okay. So what was it like, first and foremost, having G2 be the team to pick you up? Like, what was that even? Did they approach you? Like,
yeah, they actually did. The coach of the male team back then wrote me on Twitter, and he was asking me if we were playing Valorant, and I was like, is this a trick question? Because we were not actually into Valorant yet, so we were talking with G2 for longer than we were talking with them for a while.
right.
But they approached us because they were looking into getting a female team. And we were, of course, if we were going into Valorant, we would be the team to look at, since we were, again, I've been saying it so much, but we were the best team in CS. So they had our eyes on us if we were to make the switch. So yeah, I mean, they approached us, and we were, of course, very interested from the start, because
Yeah.
who do
it's
not
G2.
want to play for G2, right? Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, G2 have always been like that org that like want to build a legacy team. Do you feel like you're living up to that?
I mean, we're not losing, so that's a good thing so far. If we would start to lose, I think we would maybe feel a bit of pressure, as all teams do when they start losing. But we are so, like, all our personalities just really click on the team, and we're having so much fun together outside of the games when we're in boot camps. Like, our boot camps are very fun, even though our days are very long. But we always have it so much fun together, also with the coach and our manager and just the G2's staff around in the office. So it's always a lot of fun, and I feel like that is also one of the things that makes us a good team, that we are just very good with each other.
Yeah. How do you find like the support that G2 provide you guys, like as their team, compares to the kind of support that like orgs would provide the female teams in CS?
I think it's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
they are really thinking about us. Like, this is the best org I've ever played for. And if there's something I love, is content creation and memes and all these kind of stuff. And if that's something G2 loves, it's the exact same thing. And everyone on the team loves all these things. They love to be on camera and be weird and be goofy. And so I feel like this is a very perfect match. And that's also, like, that's not why that the G2 support is so good, obviously, but I feel like we vibe very good together with the org and the players of this team.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean that's really cool to hear, because like again, just like being into like the content creation and stuff, it makes people more interested in you, like, as you know, even if you're not the best team, right? It's like if people are invested in who you are and what you're doing, they're gonna follow you better. But as it stands, you are the best team right now. You have two kind of big rivals in EU though, when we look at Guild and Tenstar. Do you feel like there's any pressure coming from there, or are you not worried?
I am never worried. I hard believe in our abilities, but I never want to underestimate anything or anyone. I know that everyone has some very, very individual talented players, and when they pop off, it's a tough match. But we also have the same thing. We have very skilled individuals, and when we pop off, it's over for everyone. So
I mean, yeah, I think that like one thing that I love about it is the fact that because there are like so many good teams at the, you know, at the top end of Game Changers, it makes it competitive. You know, it's not like, oh yeah, here are just like the 5 only good like women players. Like, we actually have quite a few who are present. And I'm sure, you know, as someone who's competing in that league, like, yeah, of course you still want to be at the top, but as someone who's like watching, it's like, it's cool that we get like real competition. It's actually like growing, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's very almost boring to know that you already won a tournament before you even signed up for it.
Right.
So it's the competition is so important, knowing that you have to play your A game to win the game, and you have to always be on point, and you cannot slack at any point during the game, because else you might lose. That makes the games
It's
and the
so much better.
tournaments, yeah, it that that's what I really love. Like, you just have to
That's
be
the
like
feeling.
yeah, you have to be the best all the time. It just makes it so awesome.
Now, obviously, there was the announcement earlier on this year or at the end of last year, whenever it was, that Game Changers is going to have its own LAN. Okay, I was going to say, how do you feel about that? But I literally saw
Oh
your
my-
face.
Oh my god, we haven't been on land since 2019. I think it's been so long. Yeah,
That's
I think the last
crazy.
time was in Madrid, summer of 2019.
Oh my
So
god.
we want a LAN, and I am so excited for it. I really hope that next year, like, all the Game Changers events would be on LAN. Like, that would be epic. But I cannot wait. I really want us to be there. Like, I will be so heartbroken if we're not gonna be there, but we will fight so hard to be there and win everything. Like, there's just no chance I'm not going to land this year.
I want to come now. I want to
Yeah,
come
you
and
should
like.
be there.
It's just, like, for those who, haven't been to a LAN before, like, there's, unsurprisingly, a ton of drinking and partying and whatever. And then you, like, during the day, you get all the games and it's great and everyone's going crazy. And then at night, like, everyone stays up really late because, they're, like, hanging out and whatever. You guys who, like, go really far through the bracket, like, yeah, you've got to, like, do all your strats for the next day. Boring shit. Then, when it's, like, the end of the tournament, then everyone has a really good time. And it's, like, nothing beats, like, the LAN vibes. And oh my god, yeah, it would be so much fun. And especially as like for like such a big like female tournament, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's actually almost weird to try kind of imagine what that would be like.
Yeah, and internationally also. Like, everyone just wants to meet each other.
Yeah.
Because we're all supporting each other. And it's gonna be so much fun. That after party will be the best thing of the year. It will
It'd be
be
so
for
good.
sure. Yeah.
So even though all the Game Changer stuff is going on and you guys are obviously like absolutely owning that, you guys also always play in the qualifiers for VCT as well, like trying to actually qualify into the main VCT circuit. Is that what the overall goal is, to get there? Because obviously that's how you get into like masters and champions and whatnot. Like, is that still really the main thing?
It's always what you dream of, right?
Mhm.
But this year our main focus is Game Changers and
Mhm.
the international event, and to win all of it. So that's the main focus. What we hope to learn with all the other tournaments and qualifiers is experience, because we know that there will always be a better team than us, and hopefully we will learn just a lot from those games, and be able to take that into our games. So that's it for this year. Like, if we were to somehow qualify, that would be our main focus then. But for
Yeah.
now, our main focus is to be dominant this year, and to really like put our team on the top and make sure that people know that G2 Gozen is the best female team there is.
Mhm.
And then we can have other focuses for 2023. I keep on thinking in 2021.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I know. I'm like, it's 2023 doesn't sound like a real year. Like 2022 barely sounds like a real year.
Yeah.
What do you think it is that like has meant that you've performed so well in Game Changers but have not actually qualified for VCT? Do you think it's just like because there's so many teams and they all have different levels of experience and whatever? Like, is it just that as the difference?
The individual skill too. Like, people shoot very hard. And there is many times, when you lose one of the gun rounds, you're forced to eco, and like you have to win the next, else you're again forced to eco. And sometimes the cookie crumbles like that, but
Yeah.
mainly it's just the teams are better and they just beat us on either experience or like fancy plays that we have never maybe seen, and we just get completely outplayed or outbrained or outaimed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is sometimes, and you just have to learn from that and hopefully steal a little bit of those ideas and
Yeah.
those ideas
You're
and
like,
then
ooh,
make
nice.
it into yep. Yoink,
Do you
my
guys
idea now.
actually, I'm curious, like, how much do you guys scrim with teams from outside of Game Changers?
All the time. We
Yeah.
actually never play female teams, and
Okay.
mainly like up to events, we don't do it on purpose because of course we don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to leak anything, so they are prepared for any agent comps that we might run that they might not know. So mainly we always play versus male teams, and we always try to get some of the better male teams to play against, like some of the top VRL league teams.
Yeah.
Whoa, the VRL and VLR, it's so hard
Yeah,
to
I know.
remember.
I always get it wrong. Like, I literally
Uh,
tweeted something about that recently, and someone was like, "Gio, you're gonna have to delete that." And I was like, "For Christ's
That's
sake."
wrong. Yeah, exactly. So our coach, he's the one who is doing all our like making sure that we have our practice games, and he tries to mix it between like being able to stomp and being able to practice properly and also getting stomped, so we can learn also and not only win our practice games, because you don't always learn from that. So sometimes we just get kicked in the ass, and then we can laugh a little bit about that, but hopefully also learn from it.
What is your dream legacy in Valorant? Like, how you want people to remember you specifically as a player?
The best at my role, for sure. Like, whenever someone would be like, oh, I play Sentinel because Mimi, like, she's so good at it or something, right? That would just
Yeah.
be awesome. Like, that was my thought about Nets. Wow, he's such a good cipher. Like, I need to see how he plays. I need to learn from him. And I want to have people thinking the same way. I always think it's really fun when people are like, "Oh, I started Valorant because you started Valorant." And I was like, "Oh, that's really awesome."
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I like low key. So I suck at Valorant, like at playing it. I'm really really bad at playing it. I'm just bad at playing games. But for me personally, have always had this kind of complex where I'm like, I fulfill the stereotype of women being bad at games, and it bothers the fuck out of me. I hate it. I'm like, I just want to be good at it just so that I don't fit that stereotype. And I remember seeing you guys playing and being like, holy fuck, she's incredible. Like, I want to be like her. And I don't even play Sentinels, right? Like, I'm an initiator player, like hardcore. I would marry KO on the spot. I have a crush on him. But like that, regardless of that, I'm like, holy shit! Like, I want to be like that. And guess what? I'm still in bronze, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's the thought that counts.
For sure.
But it's like the reason. Sorry, I was just gonna say the reason that I specifically ask that is because I get, from the casting perspective, people will say like, sometimes people will talk about me or to me as a female caster, quote unquote. And I'm like, no. I'm just a cast. Like, that's what I want my legacy and my reputation to be based on the job that I do, and not kind of put into this box that's like, you're really good of the women. It's like, no, I'm just really good. Like, that's how I want to be seen.
I totally agree with you here. There is just, that's on point, honestly, and that's how it should be, and not really like, oh my god, you're doing really good headshots for a girl. Excuse me, what does that mean?
Good headshots for a girl.
Yeah, I think that doesn't make sense.
Oh,
a headshot
that's
is
incredible.
a headshot. Weirdo.
Oh man, my headshots identify differently to your headshots. Like,
well, I mean, I also have played FPS games for 13 years, so
right.
it would make sense that my
Yeah.
heads-up percentage is just a little bit higher, and it just comes with experience and a lot of gaming in general. So it makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think that's so cool, and I'm so excited to see how the success of your team continues and unfolds, and hopefully you guys make it to that LAN, because oh my god, I would be rooting, no bias, but I'd be rooting for you guys so hard. And I mean, I would love to be there with you. That would be the sickest thing ever. But thank you so much for talking to me today. I think it's been so cool to like learn a little bit more about your background and just your journey through esports as just such an accomplished player and someone who is like gone from having to totally switch roles and then gone from, you know, struggling to being like the best in the league that they play in or whatever. I just think it is such a cool story, and you're such a fantastic representative for the scene. So I'm really grateful for you to join me on my channel today. Is there anything that you want to say before we say goodbye?
Thank you so much for having me. And you are amazing, and I love your Instagram photos.
Okay, the feeling is mutual. Okay, let's end this before we kiss in the sunset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good idea.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.